Hello everyone, my name is Angela Anderson and I have the privilege of sharing just a few encouraging words for the holiday season and as this year draws to a close. Let me first start by saying that I love trees. Trees are my favorite, have always been my favorite, and my most favorite are the redwood trees or the sequoias that are out there on the West Coast. In California, states like that. And it's on my bucket list to get out there one day and actually see them face to face. But since I can't do that right now, my brother, who lives out in California, made a video for me of the redwood forest. And there was a landmark in there called the Immortal Tree. Let me tell you about this immortal tree. It is said to be about 950 to 1,000 years old. Very old tree. It is 14.5 feet in diameter. Huge tree, if you can imagine the trunk being that large. It stands at about 298 feet tall. That's pretty tall. And this tree has been through it. They said that lightning struck this tree one day, and it went from 298 feet to 248 feet. So 50 feet of it was just chopped right off the top, struck by lightning. Then there was a forest fire in the early 1900s. And it got burned in the fire. And all the other trees around it, they were consumed. But this tree, the immortal tree, it's still there, still standing. And then right after that, there was a flood, and the flood just swept away all the other trees around it. But this tree somehow stayed, and it is still standing right there in the forest. And then to make matters worse, some loggers came. The loggers came with their axes. They saw this huge tree and thought about how many houses they could build with this tree. So they started to axe away at this tree, and they were just chopping and cutting and everything else, and left some marks in the tree, but unsuccessful. They gave up. That tree was not moving. It wasn't going anywhere. The immortal tree. Now, some of us can identify with this tree. This year, 2020, it's taken its toll on many of us. Maybe tragedy struck you like lightning, and it took a piece of you. Maybe it was the death of a loved one, and part of you died with that loved one. Maybe it was the loss of a job, and your identity was wrapped up in that job, and a part of you was lost when you lost that job. Whatever the loss, right now to this moment, maybe you're not even feeling whole. But let me remind you, you're still standing. Maybe fire came all around you, all the trials of 2020, and tried to consume you. This pandemic and the quarantine and friends and family that were taken away, and you felt the sting of pain of separation, and you've never felt so alone. Maybe the economic downturn that came along with the pandemic, it rushed in like a flood, and all of a sudden you were grasping at things, and some of the things that you held dear are no longer with you. Let me remind you, you're still standing. Maybe this year someone tried to hurt you with their words, with their actions, and it cut you, just like those loggers were cutting at that tree. You have the bruises and the scars right here in your heart, and it still hurts. But let me tell you, you're still standing. I just want to encourage somebody today. God is amazing, and it's only by His grace that we are still standing through this year. The Bible tells us in Ephesians 6 to stand. It never says fight. It just says, be strong in the Lord and the power of his might, and above all else, to stand. And you know, God fights our battles for us. We don't have to fear, we don't have to worry, but he carries us through. And if we just stand and see the deliverance of God, stand and see the salvation of the Lord, he will come through. Remember, if God is for you, who can be against you? And as we go into the next year, I just want you to remember what you've been through this year and how you are still standing. Let God replace your weakness with his strength and just stand.